All right, you found your way back to Cam's Corner. I'm Cam, Safety Wise's resident ICAM tragic, also known as the Incident Whisperer. And today we're talking about one of management's favourite fairy tales, the idiot factor, and its best mate, just bad luck. You'd heard it, yeah? Something goes wrong and someone in a high-vis shirt leans on the ute and goes, "Oh well, human error, bloke was an idiot, bit of bad luck." And then everyone nods wisely, like they've just solved safety. Nailed it. Investigation over. Let's all go home. Here's the problem. Those labels are really comforting and completely useless. They make us feel better because they turn a messy, complex situation into a neat little story. He stuffed up, or bad luck, nothing we could have done. And if it's bad luck or an idiot, you don't have to change the system, do you? You just cross your fingers and hope the next person's less of a muppet. Let's clear something up. Human error is behaviour, what people actually did or didn't do. Pressed the wrong button, took the corner too fast, didn't speak up, misread the gauge. That's human error. Annoyingly normal, completely predictable, and very, very human. Human factors is everything that sits behind that behaviour. The stuff that shapes it. Training, workload, time pressure, fatigue, procedures written by someone who's clearly never seen the job, dodgy layout, culture, leadership, all of it. Human factors is the conditions. Human error is the thing you see at the sharp end. When we just go, "Ah well, idiot factor," we're basically saying, we're not interested in any of that background noise. We'll just blame the last person in the chain. Maybe run a toolbox talk with a sad photo and hope the universe is kinder next time. Top-tier risk management strategy right there. The reality, and this is what human factors people keep banging on about, is that errors are not random lightning strikes. They're patterned. They follow the design of the work. If you set the system up a certain way, you will get certain types of errors, over and over. If every second crew nearly misses the same intersection, that's not 50% idiots. That's the system talking to you. Loudly. So instead of asking, who stuffed it? Better question is, given the way we set this up, why did this make sense to them at the time? That's not going soft. That's how you actually fix things. Because you can't redesign people, but you can redesign work. All right, with that little rant out of the way, let's jump into a real case from Western Australia. A four-wheel drive on a wet gravel road, where it'd be very easy to just say, driver was a bit of a goose, and completely miss what really mattered. So picture this, remote-ish Western Australia, out on a wet gravel road. You've probably driven one. Bit of clay, bit of gravel, looks harmless, drives like a bar of soap. There's a work four-wheel drive heading back, crew in the vehicle, everyone keen to get home. Classic end-of-job energy. The driver's experienced. Of course he is. They always are in these stories. No one ever crashes on their first day, apparently. They're doing what a lot of us do, making very fast judgment calls about speed, grip, and how bulletproof they feel with a bull bar and a high-vis sticker. They hit a section of wet gravel. Speed's a bit high for the conditions. The surface is slippery, and, surprise, surprise, physics gets involved. Vehicle loses traction, there's a skid, they lose control, and the four-wheel drive leaves the road. Depending on which version you read, it's either a nasty near miss or people get properly hurt. Either way too much excitement for a trip home from work. Now, if you're a fan of the idiot factor, you stop there. Driver was going too fast, didn't drive to conditions, should have known better. Chuck in bit of bad luck with the wet road, and you're done in what, 5 minutes? Let's list the obvious active failures, the stuff at the sharp end. Speed choice. Too quick for that surface. No one in the vehicle speaking up, even though a couple of them later admitted they were pretty nervous. Overconfidence in the four-wheel drive. That feeling of, mate, it's a 4B, she'll be right. And the big one, that rush to get home mindset. End of the day, long drive, you can almost smell your own couch. Those are behaviours, human error territory. But human factors-wise, there's more going on. Think about training. These crews had done the usual four-wheel drive stuff, probably sat through the slideshow, drove around a bit, ticked the box. But had they really practiced wet gravel recovery? Had anyone made the risk feel real? Or was it just, yeah, don't speed, on slide 17 before smoko? Then there's the culture around challenging the driver. In the case study, it was pretty clear people didn't feel comfortable saying, "Hey mate, can we back it off a bit?" The driver was experienced, possibly senior, seen as the good operator. And when the unspoken rule is don't question the guru behind the wheel, you can predict exactly how much speaking up you'll get. Roughly zero. You've also got assumptions around experienced workers. In a lot of organisations, once you've done the job for years, people quietly assume you're sorted. Less supervision, less refresher training, more trust, more shortcuts. It's not malicious, it's just, he knows what he's doing. Right up until the moment he doesn't. So instead of this being one silly driver on a wet road, human factors turns it into a very different story. Everyday pressures, end-of-day fatigue, training that didn't stick, a culture where no one wants to challenge the old hand, and a vehicle and environment that don't forgive small misjudgments. None of that is random. None of it is bad luck. It's baked in. And that's where ICAM comes in. It forces you to go past the who drove too fast level and dig into why the situation was perfectly set up for that decision to go wrong. Let's get into that. All right, ICAM. If you've ever been dragged into an ICAM interview, you know it's not just, so, whose fault is this? It's more, what was happening around you that made this make sense at the time? Which is a much better question, even if it's slightly more painful. ICAM basically slices an incident into layers. Up top, you've got the active failures, what people did or didn't do. In the four-wheel drive case, that's things like the driver's speed, not adjusting properly for the wet gravel, and the passengers sitting there, white-knuckled, not saying a word. Under that, you've got the conditions, human factors. Training gaps, procedures, tools, fatigue, supervision, the whole circus. In WA, that meant looking at the driver training program, how journeys were planned, expectations about time, and what the culture was around challenging decisions on the road. Go deeper again, and you're at the organisational stuff. How leaders talk about schedule versus safety, what behaviours actually get rewarded, how risk is framed. Do managers quietly praise the crews who get home fastest, or the ones who take their time? Different answer, different incident pattern. Why does that matter? Because if you only fix the active failures, you end up with the classic response. Extra training, a stern memo about safe driving, maybe a new poster with a sad car on it. And then you're shocked when the same sort of crash happens 18 months later, starring a whole new idiot. If you take the ICAM mindset seriously, the recommendations look different. Training that actually sticks. More realistic four-wheel drive practice. Proper scenarios on wet surfaces. And refreshers that aren't just PowerPoint karaoke. Error-tolerant design. Better journey planning. Clearer rules around max speeds in certain conditions. Maybe tech that helps flag risky driving before the ditch does. And then culture. The fun one, creating a genuine speak-up environment in vehicles. That might mean setting the expectation that passengers aren't cargo, they're co-pilots. Leaders modelling it. If I'm driving too quick, you tell me. Rewarding people who call out risk, not freezing them out as soft. It's amazing how much safer things get when saying, "Slow down, mate," isn't a career-limiting move. So here's the punchline. Human error and bad luck are descriptions, not conclusions. Saying it was human error is like the weather report saying, "Yeah, it rained," and stopping there. Cheers for that, very useful. The smarter move is to ask, given our system, our culture, our training, what error did we basically design into this? If you're in safety, supervision, leadership, or you're just the poor bugger doing the drive home on wet gravel, try retiring a few phrases. Bin, idiot factor. Bin, just common sense. Bin, bit of bad luck. Replace them with, what made that decision reasonable at the time? How did we set the job up? What do we need to change so the next human era doesn't turn into a major? Because people will keep being human. Tired, rushed, overconfident, quiet when they should speak up. The only real question is whether your system expects that and catches it, or pretends everyone's a robot and then acts surprised when the four-wheel drive ends up in the scrub. Alright, that's enough from me. Go kill off the idiot factor in your next investigation and see what actually becomes possible when you assume the humans are staying.